Good morning. I'm Dr. Eric Williams, Interim Assistant Vice Provost for Student Diversity and Scholarship Programs in the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Educational Achievement. Welcome back to UW-Madison's Diversity Forum 2020, put on by the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Educational Achievement. For the past 20 years, this has been the DDEEA's signature event to educate, activate, and engage our community to think about diversity, equity, and inclusion on our campus and beyond. We begin by recognizing that the University of Wisconsin-Madison occupies ancestral Ho-Chunk land, a place the nation has called Dejoke since time immemorial. In an 1832 treaty, the Ho-Chunk were forced to cede this territory. Decades of ethnic cleansing followed when both the federal and state government repeatedly but unsuccessfully sought to forcibly remove the Ho-Chunk from Wisconsin. This history of colonization informs our shared future of collaboration and innovation. Today, UW-Madison respects the inherent sovereignty of the Ho-Chunk Nation, along with the 11 other First Nations of Wisconsin. Each fall, the indigenous students of UW-Madison host Native November, celebrating and sharing, teaching about their history and culture. Wisconsin has 12 indigenous nations, making it exceptionally rich in Native culture. Let's listen to one of our Native students, UW alum Dylan Jennings, explain the importance of the powwow as a cultural and social tradition as a Bad River Band of Lake Superior Chippewa tribal dancer and a member of the Midnight Express drumming group.
Sometimes it gets hard to balance these two worlds. There's different responsibilities that I hold at school. There's different responsibilities that I hold for the powwow trail. I'm a junior at UW-Madison. I come from the Bad River Band of Lake Superior, Ojibwe. A powwow is a social gathering. This is like our way of bringing our whole Native community together.
Okay, I believe we are ready for our first grand entry, so we are going to ask those of you that are able to please rise, remove the covers off your head, to pay respects not only just to our stars and stripes, but to the original flag of this continent, our eagle staffs.
Veterans play a huge role because they went to battle for us. They went to battle for our people, and they always have. Powwows are used as a means to educate people. That's why they're so open to the public and everything. A lot of people classify Native Americans as, oh, they're all Indians. Well, no, we're all from different nations that are all really, really different. We all have different languages. We all have different ways of life, and we're completely different. Just from being on the powwow trail, you get to learn so much about different Native nations. When I was just a little guy, I'd watch those men's traditional dancers, and they always had a big impression on me, and I always saw them as, almost like the protectors of the powwow. It's almost like I'm hunting, especially when you do the sneak up, you're out there looking for your prey or for your wawashkeshi, we call that's our word for deer. I started singing with Midnight Express a few years ago. Those people in that drum are my family. Sometimes, like when it's not a contest song, I'll get to look out there and see all those feathers out there moving and bobbing with the beat and people just jamming out, and that's a great feeling. When you're dancing for the ones that can't dance anymore. That's what they say. So you dance hard, so the ones that are watching that can't dance, or the ones that aren't able to make it to the powwow, can feel those feelings from here. I really try to encourage younger, I call them little brothers, on the powwow trail. That's another reason I dance and sing, is to help motivate these young ones to carry on our traditions. I really feel that I was put here on this earth to help pass things on. I want to see these traditions, these ways passed down till I'm gone and on.
PBS Wisconsin Education and The Way for their ongoing series of stories on culture and language from the Native communities around the Central Great Lakes. I'm Tracy Williams-Macklin, Interim Assistant Vice Provost for Strategic Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Administration for DDEEA. Now, I have the pleasure as co-chair, along with Lindsay Studdart Cameron, to announce UW-Madison Outstanding Women of Color. Every year, we struggle to pick a handful of outstanding honorees. This year, it was delightfully difficult because we had over 46 women, very talented women, nominated this year. If we could honor more, we definitely would. So now I will announce the 6 2020-2021 Outstanding Women of Color honorees. Shaniqua Bolges, Advanced Geriatric Fellow, School of Medicine and Public Health, Division of Geriatrics and Gerontology. Mary Muse, State Director of Nursing, Wisconsin Department of Corrections. Jessica Perez Chavez, Doctoral Student, Counseling Psychology, School of Education. Leslie Petty, Assistant Dean of Evening Executive and Corporate Executive, MBA Programs, Wisconsin School of Business. Sammy Schalk, Associate Professor, Department of Gender and Women's Studies, College of Letters and Science. Monica White, Associate Professor, Community and Environmental Sociology, College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. Please join us for the 13th annual celebration of these outstanding women of color on Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021. Here now is Deputy Vice Chancellor and Chief Diversity Officer of UW-Madison, Dr. Cheryl Gittens.
Thank you, Tracy. Good morning. The Diversity Forum has a 20-year history on the UW-Madison campus as a free conference devoted to topics of diversity, equity, and social justice. It's an important way we carry out the Wisconsin idea, and we're excited to bring it to more people than ever before this year as a virtual conference. The Division of Diversity, Equity, and Educational Achievement, also known as DDEEA, supports the mission of the University of Wisconsin-Madison as it works to create a diverse, inclusive, and excellent learning and work environment for all students, faculty, staff, alumni, and partners at the university. The University of Wisconsin-Madison Diversity Forum is the university's premier all-campus and community platform to discuss, share, and learn about contemporary issues on diversity and inclusion. And I'd like to thank our communications and event planning team members, Mary Carr Lee, Valeria Davis, Nick Heinen, and Crystal Tucker, for working tirelessly to ensure Diversity Forum 2020 is a success. Give them a hand. I'd also like to thank our volunteers who helped to make yesterday and today happen. Thank you. So back again to moderate our first ever virtual diversity forum, day 2. It is my pleasure to introduce my campus partner and colleague, Dr. LeVar Charleston, Associate Dean for Diversity and Inclusion at UW-Madison's School of Education.
Thank you, Dr. Gittens. And it's a pleasure to be back for day 2 of Diversity Forum 2020. For those of you who joined us yesterday, we appreciate you coming back on today to be in community with us. And for those who are just joining us today, welcome, welcome, welcome. Day 1 was amazing, enriching, and informative with a keynote by Dr. Robin DiAngelo, sessions about COVID-19, health inequities, activism on campus, and stress as a public health issue. The day ended with a phenomenal town hall about racial injustice in America. Most of those sessions will be available on demand to view again after the forum concludes. As a reminder, we encourage you to share what you've learned in today's conference on social media using our hashtag UW Diversity Forum. We encourage you to also use the chat feature on your screen for portions of our Diversity Forum. Tell us where you're from, ask questions, and be engaged. We'd also like to mention that a digital program for our 2-day forum can be downloaded at diversity.wisc.edu. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Carl Schultz, the Provost and Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. The Provost is the Chief Operating Officer of the university and Deputy to the Chancellor in the overall academic leadership and administrative management of the university, overseeing all academic programming and budget planning for all schools and colleges. Provost Schultz is an internationally respected economist whose work on household savings, low-wage labor markets, financial barriers to higher education, and bankruptcy has appeared in leading economics journals. Please welcome Provost Carl Schultz.
Thank you, LeVar, and good morning. As Provost of UW-Madison, I'm honored by the opportunity to welcome you to day 2 of our UW-Madison Diversity Forum. I hope that you had a chance to participate in some of our sessions yesterday. Both yesterday's and today's sessions look incredibly engaging, and I'm so glad each of you has taken the time to participate. Please join me in thanking our colleagues within the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Educational Achievement for their hard work to make this 2-day event possible. And thank you, everyone, for being here today. Even if here is in a cramped kitchen table or playroom while kids are napping, or alone in a nearly empty office building, I know many of us now are feeling pulled in multiple directions while simultaneously feeling like we're reliving the same day over and over and over again. Inequities here in this country and elsewhere, highlighted and made center stage by the pandemic, are of course not news to those who have all been working to right historical wrongs and to combat present injustices. It's undeniable that this year, especially, there seems to be a bit of a pall over our Diversity Forum, an event that usually brings us together physically to learn from each other and challenge ourselves to do better. Beyond the COVID-19 pandemic, the social unrest and public outcry about the brutal deaths of Breonna Taylor in Louisville, George Floyd in Minneapolis, and the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, examples of sickening violence and death, is only a stark recent reminder of a pattern of injustice that has been brought to the forefront of our nation's attention. Change, whether for society or as individuals, begins at home with each one of us. We are asking all parts of our campus community to engage in self-reflection, discovery, and behavior change. But we also must be better as an institution. The chancellor, vice chancellors, and deans have been in productive discussions for many months to help make UW-Madison a more welcoming and equitable campus. That is, to be part of the change, not only on campus, but for our community, state, and nation. I believe we are making progress. Representation is critical for us to be a better, more inclusive campus. Overall, the number of students from historically underrepresented groups among our new first-year undergraduate class is 989, a 20% increase from last year. Additionally, because of Bucky's tuition promise and the related Badger promise, 1 in 5 new Wisconsin resident students on campus this fall are receiving full tuition and segregated fee scholarships. Increasing representation of students from historically underrepresented groups has resulted from the purposeful hard work by Vice Provost for Enrollment Management Derek Kindle and his talented colleagues, but we still have more progress to make. In addition to our new members of the class of 2024, we're proud of our retention and graduation metrics that we just publicized 2 weeks ago. The retention rate for underrepresented domestic students of color from the first year to the second year rose to 95.9%. This is the highest it has ever been and above the retention rate for UW-Madison students as a whole. The 4-year graduation rate for underrepresented domestic students of color is 56.6%, a new high for this group. The 6-year graduation rate for underrepresented domestic students of color is 81.5%. Meanwhile, as provost, one of my responsibilities is to enhance our faculty's success as scholars, researchers, and as teachers. Representation matters here as well. We've worked to expand our target of opportunity, commonly referred to as TOP, faculty hires. This initiative helps our schools and colleges recruit and hire outstanding individuals who will enhance a department's quality and diversity. Since the inception in 2018, we have hired 32 new faculty into faculty positions across our campus. Even more striking, 85, half the new hires in last year's outstanding recruiting year, are faculty of color. While we can't experience campus as we normally would, our successful recruitment of students and faculty should make our campus feel different in an important way, in a good way. While representation matters, we must also work collectively to create a sense of belonging on campus. Enhancing belonging is, in my view, a critical, complicated, collective project. Universities and colleges play a profoundly important role in American society. The great public land-grant universities even more so as incubators of ideas and as wellsprings of opportunity. We try to do this in a world where we see rancor, hate, a breakdown of communication and respect, and sometimes a breakdown of basic humanity. Belonging is complicated since as we navigate our lives, we share some common experiences, such as the historical moment we find ourselves in now, but many other experiences are shaped by our identities and who we are. I recognize that my experiences, particularly given my privilege, tall, white, male, pretty much every box imaginable, these experiences don't mirror the experiences and challenges of many others. I continue to have much to learn. I found myself reflecting on my privilege as I read Austin Channing Brown's book. I was struck by many of her observations, but let me close with 2 of her sentences. Nowadays, when someone confesses about their racist uncle or that time they said the N-word, I determined to offer a challenge toward transformation. For most confessions, this is as simple as asking, so what are you going to do differently? So what are you going to do differently? What will I do differently? What will each of us do differently as individuals and collectively? This beautifully frames the challenge that is before us. Like you, I am very excited to hear Ms. Brown's remarks this morning. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak to you. Most importantly, thank you for being here and for joining us.
Thank you, Provost Schultz, for your remarks and for getting our minds ready for a second day of learning and sharing. We have another day of guest speakers, panels, and discussions. You don't want to miss it. But first, I'd like to introduce you to two First Wave scholars, Alpha and Karina. DDEA's First Wave Hip Hop and Urban Arts Learning Community is a unique group of students who pair the development of their expressive skills and talents with college academics, arts, and activism. The result is a reflective, intelligently defined expression of social awareness and activism wrapped in the creatively enhanced yet traditional ancient language art of spoken word. Alpha Stokes is a sophomore from Buffalo, New York, studying communication arts, and Karina Robinson is a sophomore from Oak Park, Illinois, studying environmental studies and psychology. Listen closely and enjoy this oral poetic performance by our First Wave scholars.
When me and my brother would fight, rock, paper, scissors is always how we decide who is right. Best 2 out of 3, 6 out of 10. But eventually another argument would begin. See, I was like, why does paper beat rock? Rock is hard, strong, resilient. It might be a little dirty, but just because paper is white, that doesn't make it right. He said, that's cute. You thought it could only be white, nah, this paper be Benjamin Blue. Paper couldn't beat up rock, but paper told rock to shut up. Told rock it was too loud, paid rock to sit the heck down, bought the dirt, bought the rain, made the mud, and buried rock in it, paid rock to be a rock paper could stand on, but guess you were right. Not always blue, sometimes this paper come arrest warrant white, call rock criminal, call rock crook, cut rock open in front of rock's family, harvest hidden fossils as evidence, later sell it as art, urban chic, now controls what little rock pebbles think. Rock may have attained more minerals. Rock may have a stronger base, but paper had a lot more space to out-organize rock, plan, organize, genocide, legalize our great divide, divide and conquer, pin rock against scissor. So when scissor gets fed up, when scissor is ready to cut up, tell paper it got her messed up, rock destroys scissor, and paper silences rock. Paper comforts rock, hugs rock, says, shh, don't start a revolution. Counteracts rock's feeling of defeat, hurries to force feed rock, transitory utopia of deceit, gives rock a cartoon, a water fountain. The president calls this heaven sent, says, see, I don't want to hurt you, just hide you. I don't want your knees in the dirt, but I hold no culture. You can't complain, I'm not that heavy anyways. He says, that's cute. You imagine one good old-fashioned sheet, but this paper be textbook new. Convivially teaches rock of one-sided ancestry, says rock be violent, throwing stone, bring death to the guilty. Says rock be hatred through cop car window, riot, rock brings sparks flying, turn the pages, says paper be holy. Says paper be finance and education, paper be constitution, paper be eco-friendly, make everything better, paper be love letter, says paper be treaty, tells rock you need me. Then reels in rock renegades, railroad rock revolutionists, nationally announces, don't hate the player, hate the game. Now pledge allegiance to this cycle. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, Trayvon, you. Rock, paper, please don't.
Absolutely brilliant performance from our First Wave scholars. I think we are going to Karina live right now.
I grew up in the quicksand of white suburbia. That kind of childhood where the concept of race leaves you sinking. There's never been a time I wasn't drowning in it. I was the kid who thought she was adopted because the white kids told her so. I was the kid who colored my skin with white crayons, pressed heat into my curls like there was no other way to love them if they weren't choking in smoke. Heat-damaged split ends became arrowheads aimed straight down. Singed scars on the nape of my neck only meant it was working. And the weight of the sand called me pretty. So I let it drain me a little farther. Let the fragments of sand clog my throat a little more. And somewhere my ancestors laughed and cried, trying to pull me free. I was the kid all the other kids stared at when they saw my parents. Dad, black, mom, Mexican, therefore me, impossible. The thing about diversity, like the institutional kind, is that it reduces me to a mathematical form. The statistic in the pamphlet, the Black student. And they told me college would make me feel weightless. So why is everything so heavy? Every white stare in the classroom, hand that touches my afro, every, but you talk so white. Quicksand squared. Mom said if I was going to write poetry in college, they would require me to write this poem and then write it again. More brown this time. Again, less suffocating this time. Is it too late for me to grab my ancestors when the sand drowns this quickly? There's not a single person who's heard me perform a poem about the way I have been coughing up white sand since I was a child. How I've never learned to take a breath without sputtering grains. I'm learning the only way to escape quicksand is to lessen your own mass. There are parts of me still heaving up whiteness. I can't undo my childhood, but the weight lessens when I dig up my afro. Weight lessons when I cook the most Mexican of meals for the homies, or write all the versions of myself in parallel universes with nothing but lungs for a body. Skin and words meet on the page when my own agenda calls for it. When I know the poem will make me feel lighter. I like to think somewhere my ancestors are smiling, breathing relief, resting, finally.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Alpha and Karina. You know, when I see our students in action, I'm constantly reminded that no matter the tumult we are going through today, that I'm optimistic, that the next generation of leaders are more than capable to usher in an equitable and inclusive world, a world where we no longer just survive, we thrive. So we're excited to bring a second keynote speaker to the Diversity Forum 2020, in part to a generous sponsorship by U.S. Bank. Austin Channing Brown is a speaker, writer, and media producer, providing inspired leadership on racial justice in America. She is the author of I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness, and the executive producer of the web series, The Next Question. Austin has a Bachelor of Arts degree in business management from North Park University, as well as a Master's in Arts and Social Justice from Marygrove College in my hometown of Detroit, big up Detroit, Michigan. Austin's professional career began in the nonprofit sector, including homelessness, housing, youth engagement, fund development, and church operations. By using an intentional mix of humor, pop culture, storytelling, and audience engagement, Mrs. Channing Brown awakens people to the current realities of systemic racism and the everyday actions which will allow racism to thrive. She evokes thought, feeling, and action while celebrating Blackness and the possibility of justice in our organizations and communities. As a media producer, Austin creates content that centers the experiences of Black women, dismantling the very foundations of white supremacy. After Ms. Channing Brown's keynote, as a moderator, I will rejoin us for a special student panel as we engage in a question and answer period that further dives into Channing Brown's work and expertise. Please welcome Austin Channing Brown.
Yo. You know, y'all, I thought I was done with school, like done with school, but I might need to figure out how to get in that hip hop and urban arts program. What? I'm so here for it. I would love to begin by answering one of the most common questions that I get, which is, why did you write a book called I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness? And I'm sure you all are shocked to find that some people read the title of my book and they're like immediately turned off. Like they don't be reading the inside flap. They don't be, you know what I'm saying? They just see the title and they be like, what? So I feel like the two spoken words we just heard were excellent examples of what I am talking about, but let me just break it down further for those who are maybe not of the poetic type, okay? You're just gonna try and put that cookie on the bottom shelf. So I am a Black girl who grew up in predominantly white America. The classrooms I was in, the neighborhoods I was raised in, the jobs that I've had, the college that I went to, I was not in the majority until I was getting my master's degree in Detroit, Michigan. That was the first time that I was not just one of a handful in the classroom. And because of that, I learned very on in elementary school that white people have a tendency to think that their experiences are universal and normal. And the first time, or at least one of the first times that I can remember it happening, was when teachers were teaching us how to be consistent, right? How to do things daily. And they would say things like, class, it's really important that you brush your teeth every day. It's really important that you change your clothes every day. It's really important that you wash your hair every day. Y'all hear the record scratch? I remember looking for all the Black girls in the class, like, like, and then having this silent conversation. We were like, that's not universal, friends. That's not universal. Not only do I not wash my hair every day, but I should not wash my hair every day. It was the first in a long line of me being discounted, erased, not even a thought in the minds of the people who are crafting the classroom, who are crafting the workplace, who are crafting the organization. And every time that is done, it's an assault on my dignity. It's an insult on my personhood. It is past time. It is past time for all of us to realize that there is nothing inherently better about white culture. Nothing. It is simply one option among many. And we would be wise to honor the inherent dignity of all people by not just being present together, but by forming a multicultural culture, by creating spaces in which my hair can live its best life. There are ways in which multicultural institutions are using people of color. I was watching a show the other day, and the show was all about debt. It was trying to get young people out of debt. And in the opening credit, the TV host, who was all about sort of the psychology behind why we do what we do, and a Black woman who is an actual accountant and would help each person figure out what to do about their debt. They're having a conversation. And they're introducing the person who's up next. And the person who's up next is a Black boy who is a college graduate. And the Black woman says, you know what? This kid is amazing. He got all kinds of awards for his school because he ran track. He was one of the top students in the class. He won the school all kinds of awards. But now that he's graduated, he has all this student debt. And the moderator said, wait a minute, I'm sorry. He did all this stuff for the school, but what he got in return was a mountain of debt. They said they didn't give this, he didn't have a scholarship. They didn't let this man go to school for free. She said, no. And he said, sounds like he gave more value to the school than they gave to him. Y'all, I need every institution to ask itself, are they receiving more than they're giving to students of color? Because my guess is we have some work to do to make sure that students of color are getting an equal experience and an equal education as all of their peers are receiving. And the institutions who are willing to ask the question are few and far between. But if you want to make good on a hip hop and urban arts, if you want to make good on that, right? It is not enough. It is not enough to simply say, here's how many students of color we have. Your institution must ask itself, are students of color receiving the same experiences, the same education, the same sense of belonging that all of the white students are receiving? I'll stop there because I want folks to jump in. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad that you're here, and I know you're from Ohio, but your presence just makes me think of the crib. I'm from Detroit, and I sense that in you. Some of it got in you a little bit.
I may or may not be married to a man from Detroit.
Okay, then it makes perfect sense. Thank you, Ms. Channing Brown. I must say that I really am truly excited and honored that you are here today and will be engaging with our campus community. I had the opportunity to read your book, and I saw myself in some of your early experiences and even into your professional ones, right? And in my own work, push students to assert agency over their own academic lives,
yes,
right? Especially in predominantly white spaces where curriculum is not so reflective of their lives and experiences. I'm from Detroit. I've been in Wisconsin for 15 years, and a place like Wisconsin, I've come to learn very quickly that there are indeed challenges, sometimes with the small numbers of Black, Indigenous people of color, students in classes, and that really forced us, and I say us because I'm a two-time alum of this institution as well, to evaluate, as you say, to evaluate the risk of telling the truth by means of speaking up, and out in our courses, or remaining silent and possibly furthering the myth, as you talked. You said so much stuff that was so dope, and I was like, okay, I rock with her. So, we use the so-called life hacks that you mentioned, right? And especially in a place like Wisconsin, to create communities where we can let our hair down. If I had some, I would let it down. I used to have some, it's gone now. To heal, to learn, and to grow from each other. And so I'm excited to be joined, as we see on the screen as well, by a few awesome student leaders. You see how dope our students are.
Amazing.
Amazing. If I do say so myself, we got some dope students. So, some student leaders who they're not only working to ensure equitable and inclusive working and learning environments here on campus, they're also helping to create communities and a sense of belonging for their peers, and namely their peers of color. And so in this segment, for everyone out here, I feel like I was just in a one-on-one with our author real quick. In this segment, we'll hear from 3 students who will engage with Mrs. Channing Brown, as well as intermittently take a few questions from the audience. We received a few questions prior to Mrs. Channing Brown's talk, and also some via the chat, featuring the chat during this feature while she's talking as well. So we will pull some of those questions in. And I apologize in advance for not being able to get to everyone's question. However, I will do the best I can. And so let's start with Nala McWhorter. Nala McWhorter is the current president of the Wisconsin Black Student Union. She's a junior studying marketing and entrepreneurship in the business school, and also a part of the first cohort of BEL, or Business Emerging Leaders Scholars on campus. Nala has dedicated her time here to change the racial climate at UW-Madison, helping create the Wisconsin Black Initiative Fund, spearheading a petition for the School of Business to begin creating a multicultural space, and it's working with the administration to review monuments on campus. So Nala, I know you have a couple questions for Ms. Channing Brown, so the floor is yours.
Hello. I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Also, thank you for your book. Because kind of just echoing LeVar, I was reading it and I was like, wow, like, this is exactly what I'm going through at this moment, working with administration and trying to get things done. And you really see that in those experiences. So I just really want to say thank you. And I really just want to dive in because I was so interested in the book. So my first question, in your book, you brought up whiteness being supreme and how those who live in whiteness are oppressive, whether it's intentional or not, whether they even know it. And I really felt that because, the people that I've been working with and I've been talking to, might not know that just living in whiteness could be harmful to their Black students. And so my question for you is, I know there's probably a lot of, white students and staff and faculty listening right now. So how can they be more aware of this oppressive nature that they have, even if it's not intentional, and how can they act against that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is a really loaded question.
Yes, yes.
Because the first thing that we have to do is think about whiteness, not white people, right? And that can be a really hard thing to do, that there is a concept called whiteness, right? And white people get to decide whether or not they are going to interrogate what their whiteness means, right? Are they going to capitalize on the privilege of being assumed to be normal? Or are they going to recognize that there is this thing called whiteness and challenge it, right? So what would that look like? What would that look like in your classroom, right? That would look like a white student saying, you know what, this is a literature class, and so far, every single author we've studied has been a white man. People of color do be knowing how to write, correct? like people of color have written some books, right? Shouldn't I know about those? Right? That is a white person who realizes that whiteness has been so normalized that the only people we are studying are also only white, right? And it pushes through that normalization. Let me use a different word. It disrupts that normalization by saying this is not okay, right? The fact that this is normal is not okay. Those who are not pushing, who are not interrogating their whiteness, who are not asking those kinds of questions. It is not my desire to make them evil. It is my desire to say you are not anti-racist. Right? So sometimes it's easier if we go back in time. So let me answer this question this way. Back when we were fighting for integration, there were three groups of people in America. There were the folks who were actively fighting against segregation, right? They were saying America needs to be integrated because being separate, like we can't be equal and separate, right? It's not working, right? There was a group of people who were on the opposite side saying, oh, we gonna be segregated, right? They're like, that's what we gonna be, okay? And then there was a group in the middle who was simply silent, right? Who simply didn't say anything. This group of people in the middle do not get to call themselves freedom fighters simply because they weren't in the group shouting segregation forever. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I guess we can give them points for not being in the segregation forever camp, right? Like, I guess we can give them a gold star, right? But they don't get all the gold stars because you got to actually do something, right? You got to actually say, this is what I'm for. You have to actually have some courage. You have to actually have some commitment in order to say that you're a freedom fighter. Right. And it's the same thing right now, right? People who are white, who are not trying to push the system forward. We're not trying to say that they're evil. We're just trying to say, but don't you want to be a freedom fighter? right? Don't you want to make a difference? Don't you want to ask questions? Don't you want to interrogate this? Don't you want justice? Don't you want our communities to be better? Don't you care that students of color are not having an equal experience to all white students? Don't you care? Don't you care?
Yes. Yes.
Right?
I love that. And I feel like that kind of also brings into complexity because you have, I think it's really important as like a Black student activist to kind of have agency when it comes to administration. So it's very important to have people in that administration like being those freedom fighters and fighting for you. And I think what I've run into is, you know, I feel like there's some people who want to do that, you know, but then they're getting paid by UW. You know, that's their job, that's their livelihood. So what do you say, you know, to those individuals who might want to, you know, call things out and ask questions and challenge the status quo, but are kind of, you know, stuck in this position of like, you know, that's my job.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you the truth and tell you that my answer is different based on whether or not you're from a marginalized community or not. Okay. If you are from a marginalized community, especially in Wisconsin, I'm going to go ahead and say that you might need to hold on to that good job. Okay. And in that case, I need for you to be strategic about the ways that you fight for racial justice. The first thing that I need to ask you if you're a person of color is who is fighting with you? Because I get very concerned about people of color who are the only one in their department, the only one on their team, the only one in their classroom who is seeking to make change. Because it's really easy to fire the one dissenter. So my first question is, who are your comrades? Who are you pushing with? Who is making sure that that if you're down for the count, right, if you can't make it to the meeting, that there are still going to be 3 or 4 other voices who can go to the meeting, right? It is really dangerous to be the only one who is making waves. So that would be my first question, or that would at least be at the top of the list. Who is fighting with you, right? If you are a white person, then I need you to back up and really sit and think about the weight of what we're saying, right, Nala? Because what we're saying is, as a white person, you sort of intrinsically in your gut are afraid that if you push too hard, your job could be on the line. But I need white people to really think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I need white people to really think, like to sit with that reality, that what you are afraid of is that if you say students of color deserve an equal education, and this is what it takes to make that happen, that if you say that to your supervisor, you will end up on a list of people who will be downsized next year. And the reason I need white people to think about that is because that is the weight of how it feels to be a person of color in dominant white society. It is important that you recognize how serious this is. It's important that you recognize the pushback that you're getting. It's important that you grapple with the reality of your fear. Because too often what white people do is default to, but I just want to be nice, or but I just want to be civil. And the truth is you're afraid. And it's important that you name that fear, because that fear is rooted in some kind of reality about what you're up against. And we have to acknowledge what we're up against.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I have one more question for you.
So
I'm from Racine, Wisconsin. So it's about 2 hours from Madison. And recently in Kenosha, which is like 15 minutes from my house, we had the Jacob Blake situation.
Yes.
So, you know, this is a very rough time for our country, I think. And not only are we dealing with the whole pandemic, you know, that disproportionately affects our community anyways, but we've seen so many tragic deaths at the hands of the police. So my question is, how do you think the outcry for social justice changed when the George Floyd incident happened and when the Jacob Blake situation happened?
You know what? There were a whole lot of white people who asked me when the George Floyd protests happened, are you more hopeful now? Do you see how many white people are marching? Do you see that the whole world is responding? Do you see that all 50 states have at least one major protest, right? Is it changing? And most Black folks was like, we'll see. Right? Most Black folks was like, we'll see. And then what happened? Jacob Blake, right? And all of a sudden, everywhere I turned, there were white folks who was like, but you know, but there is this little detail. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this one might be different. Oh, so all that hope you was asking me about 3 seconds ago, all that hope you wanted me to have that the world was changing, you just proved to me that America has actually not moved as far as it wants to believe it has, right? And that is both disappointing and par for the course, right? It's both disappointing and par for the course. And that is why our hope for the future cannot be rooted in how white people react. It just can't. It can't. It can't. The source of our hope for racial justice cannot be rooted in whether or not white people get it. It can't be rooted in whether or not white people care. It just can't. We must root this pursuit for racial justice in a larger hope. We must root it in the hope that just as our ancestors fought and created change, we can fight and create change. The hope can't be rooted in whiteness. Our hope must be rooted in one another. Nala, before you disappear, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
So you just, they just named a laundry list of things that you do.
They did.
That was quite the laundry list, friend. Tell me what you do when you are not fighting for justice.
So when I'm not fighting for justice, I just recently started my own business. So I'm officially a business owner.
Okay.
I have a business called Silk and Honey Skincare. So I've been working a lot on that. I kind of do all of like my branding, and I do my own website and my social media. So outside of activism, it takes up a lot of my time. But I'm super blessed to be 20 and a business owner and in school. It's just a big blessing.
Yeah. Can I give you homework to do? It'll be really easy homework.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to spend at least 10 minutes every day twerking in the mirror.
Will do. Will do.
I need you to give yourself at least 10 minutes every day where you just do something for you, for your body, to make you feel good, to make you feel sexy, to make you feel like a woman, to make you feel pretty, to make you feel powerful, something that is just for you. Okay?
I like that.
Because what I don't want is for you to burn out by the time you're 25.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I need you to remember that you are a whole person. You're a whole person. And that you get to experience joy, not just the fight. You get to experience joy. And I want you to think about every area in your life where you experience joy, and I want you to indulge. Okay? I want you to
Yes.
indulge in joy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed talking to you. I'll probably connect with you afterwards. You'll probably see me in your in your email. But yes, thanks again.
Wow, awesome. Aren't our students, and this is for the university, myself, I'm an administrator, aren't they worth investing in? How brilliant are they? We would be remiss as an institution if we don't effectively serve our students. I want to follow up with the last thing you said to Nala, Austin, and her second question. This is sort of a follow-up on its head a little. This is one of the questions that came in, and it's really around, wellness, right? The question is this. Our institution is losing a lot of Black administrators and staff as a result of racial battle fatigue. What are some suggestions you can offer to help us encourage our colleagues to continue the fight for justice?
Yeah. Well, the first thing that we absolutely have to do is raise the expectations of the institution. Now, right, this gets tricky though, because if you're already in the institution, it is very difficult to then raise expectations, right? And I want to acknowledge that, right? But there are no easy solutions. And I wish that I could just be like, here's your pamphlet for surviving white supremacy, right? But I ain't got no pamphlet, y'all. So we gonna do the best that we can. But one thing that we have to do is be honest about the amount of work that we are putting in, okay? So as a Black administrator, how many more hours are you putting in than your colleagues? How much more preparation do you have to do? Because you have to know every line to Black Panther and the color purple so that you can speak to your students in a language they understand, right? How many more studies do you have to read in order to translate the experience that your students of color are having so that white people actually believe you so you can get the grant money that you need to serve the students of color, right? How much more are you doing than your colleagues? And too often I have seen Black folks not be honest about how much more it takes to be a Black administrator or faculty person. But the reason it's important is because if you can't name it, if you can't say it, how do you expect the institution to compensate you for it? How? Right? So in the best case scenario, your supervisor sees it. Right? And your supervisor can make allowances for you. So let me give you an example. So I was a resident director at a college for 4 years. Okay. So I was in charge of 240 18 and 19-year-olds. Whole nother book.
Fun times.
Whole nother book. Whole nother book. Right? But when I started, the week that I started, my job was the same week that Ferguson blew apart. It was the same week that Michael Brown died. And so I am now training my student leaders, right, all day. And then I go home and I watch the news and social media at that time, right, because the news wouldn't even cover it. So then I go home and I check out Twitter so that I can try and stay on top of what's happening and then write on my blog so that people, right?
Right.
So I am doing work that none of my other colleagues are doing. But my supervisor says to me, Austin, I know you're doing double duty. Why don't you sit this training out? Right? Why don't I give you the morning off? Because I know you have to invest in this because students of color expect you to know what's happening and expect you to be able to speak to it. So you take the morning off. Everybody else will take care of the training. You with me?
Yeah.
I had colleagues that week who said, you know what, Austin, we realize that this is weighing on you in a different way than it's weighing on everybody else on our team. So let me bring you dinner. Because I at least want you to not have to think about what to cook tonight.
Sure.
right? That there are ways to acknowledge the work that we're doing and the amount of vulnerability, the amount of emotional labor that it takes not only to be a person of color in America, but to be a resource for the students of color who are still trying to figure out what it means to be a person of color in America.
Yeah.
Right? I also think it is really important to take the advice that I just gave to Nala. What are you doing for joy? What are you doing to take care of yourself? How do you delight in being Black? When was the last time you just indulged your Blackness? Because that's restorative, right? That's restorative work.
No.
But so often we get so caught up in fighting for Blackness that we forget how to enjoy our own Blackness. And it's always better around more Black folks, right? So my second question would be, how are you sharing the load with your other Black colleagues or your other people of color or your other white allies, right? How have you created a multiracial space in which Blackness can thrive so that when it's time to get back to the work, you already have the energy for it? I can't fix the entire white system, right? I can't, and you can't. But what we can do is do a better job of acknowledging how much our work takes and raising the expectation, at least of those in our immediate vicinity, to begin acknowledging that.
Yeah, that is extremely wise. I appreciate that. Let's go to another scholar here. Jared Biddle is a senior major in Afro-American Studies on campus. He has made it a priority to align himself with organizations that create change for the betterment of the campus community. He currently serves on the Student Inclusion Coalition's Executive Board in student government as a representative on the Student Services Finance Committee and as a volunteer coordinator at the Campus Women's Center. Jared, take it over.
Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm good.
I'm glad to be with you. Thanks for coming. So I'm just here to ask you a few questions today. My first question that I have for you are, what are the structural barriers you see to dismantling systematic racism in society as a whole? And then kind of like for student leaders on campus, I work in student government. So how can student government leaders help to change that narrative on campus and in society?
Yeah. So those are both big questions. And my first thought, I mean, really probably people could write an entire book on what the barriers are to actually overcoming structural racism, right? But the first thing that came to mind is James Baldwin talking about disinterest, right? Because the system works for the majority of white people, there is a disinterest in changing that system, right? Now, some people are like actively against changing structures, right? They're like, you ain't changing this, right? We're back to our segregation thing, right? That this is how it's always been. I like it this way. Don't be over here trying to change nothing, right? But there are also those who are simply disinterested, who simply don't care, who simply don't think about it because they don't have to. Because why would you change a system that works for you? And the only reason you would do that is because you realize that the system, those structural barriers that Black folks and other people of color are trying to fight against do actually impact everyone, right? But it takes a certain level of awareness. It takes a certain level of interrogation. It takes a certain worldview in order to get there. And so I would say the first step in at least being interested in a conversation about structural barriers is to move out of disinterest into I am interested. I am interested in poking at this. I'm interested in reading about it. I'm interested in watching movies about it. I'm interested in the data. I'm interested in the stats. I'm interested in people's experiences, right? But folks have to move from disinterest to interest. Sorry, give me the second half of your question again. You mentioned student government. Tell me what the rest was.
So pretty much just how can student government leaders on campus proactively push their institution towards making these changes?
Yeah. So it's really important to know a few things about your institution. One, how much can you find out about the history of your institution? Because there are a whole lot of institutions that were on one of either side, right? They were founded with the intention of being universities that spoke to everybody, who admitted everybody, right? Or they were not. Right? They were for white folks, white folks, white folks. Right? So the first thing we need to know are what are the roots of the institution? Who was the first president and why did he found it? Right? Because the roots tell us something about the organization. They either tell us that there is a mission to return to, or there is a mission that must be changed. Right? So that would be the first step. The second step is to begin to be clearer and clearer and clearer about what policies you want to change and why. Right? So the clearest one that often exists in a school is curriculum, right? Literally, what are we learning in the classroom, right? And it is fairly easy to say, I'm in a literature course and I am learning about 2 people of color, but I'm learning about 15 white people, right? And saying, this needs to change. So we demand as students a curriculum that is more diverse. I as a student expect to learn not just about white men, but I expect to learn about Black women. I expect to learn about Indigenous folks. I expect to learn about Asian writers. That is my expectation as a student who must navigate a global world unlike anything we've ever seen before.
So a follow-up kind of to your question that I just had pop into my head.
Wow.
So on campus, I work in organizations that have been responsible for creating lists of demands. So how do you feel what do you feel the appropriate response is when administration doesn't necessarily give you what you asked for?
Yes. Tell me why.
I would say
No. That's my answer.
Okay.
Right? That when they say no, your immediate answer is tell me why.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me why the answer is no. Give me a good reason for why we would maintain white supremacy, which is what's happening, right? Why would we maintain white supremacy instead of creating a diverse curriculum that will only help students in the long run? Tell me the why.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you never accept no, right? No is not the end of the conversation, right? Mm-hmm. It might be the end of that campaign, right? So if what you did was you went and got signatures of all students, right? You might be at the end of that campaign, right? But you got to ask the question, why? Why? Because that will inform what strategy you use next. So maybe their answer is, we can't do that because we can't tell professors what their curriculum has to be, right? So maybe that's so they say no, you say why, right? They say, well, because we can't do that we can't put that kind of pressure on professors, right? That means what you just learned then is that the fight isn't for administration, the fight is with faculty, right? So now you got to change your campaign to focus on faculty, right? So you always ask why.
Okay. Thank you. And lastly, my last question is, what advice do you have for students who want to learn more about racial justice and who've been thinking about it for years and maybe into the conversation?
Oh, sure. So many answers to this. The truth is, there's a million ways to learn about racial justice. Like a million. I mean, especially right now, right? So there's stacks and stacks and stacks of books that you could partake in. There are all kinds of movies and PBS shows that are like talking about the history of racial justice and the pursuit of civil rights in this country. There are all kinds of essays and articles. There are people who are constantly talking about this on social media. Like the number of ways to learn about racial justice. There's this class called Hip Hop and Urban Arts. I assume they talk about justice in there. Like the number of ways, right? The number of centers, the number of organizations that could be joined, the number of newsletters that are about racial justice. There's an unending pot of creativeness that folks are pouring into, hoping that it moves people from disinterest to interest. There is no lack of resources. So anyone who wants to learn more about this just needs the will to do so.
Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Jared. We're getting a ton of great questions, Austin. So I'm just gonna dive into one of these that I thought was really good from the audience. The question says this: how do you engage with other people of color that have bias against Black or dark-skinned folks?
Yes.
There's books and information about tools and language to talk about whiteness, white privilege, and white supremacy, but lighter-skinned people of color might not identify with that. And I think this is a really great question for, if other diversity leaders on campus. If you're like me, you deal with this all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, as we're trying to uplift some groups, we have a lot of intergroup fighting, or jockeying for resources. I think that there's a sort of a setup in our city where, all of our organizations are pitted against each other to fight for resources, whether grants or what have you. I think that carries on to the university. Everybody means well, right? Everybody's cause is valid.
Yes.
But how do we how do we address this? What do you say to that?
Yeah. So my question would be, not how much are each of us receiving from the pot? How big is the pot? Right? Because when we begin to jockey for the little bit of pie, right, the little piece of pie we got, it means that we have taken our eye off the whole pie, right? It means we have become satisfied. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm catching a cold and it is ruining my Black cadence right now.
We didn't even notice.
Okay, good. I'm so frustrated. Sorry, that was a complete distraction. Right? So if the pie is this big, right, and we get this little sliver over here, if we start fighting, it's because we are focused on this instead of this, right? So it would behoove us to work together to say, we all gonna need a bigger slice of this pie, right? Instead of living in scarcity, which believes that this is all they're going to give us. And because this is all they're going to give us, we now have to fight over this, right? I think it also is really, really, really important for each group to decide and like genuinely, what does it believe about racial justice? Is racial justice for everyone? Is it for everyone? Or is it just for me and mine? Because just for me and mine is a tool of white supremacy.
Yeah.
Right? And so if we believe that we all are actually on the same team in pursuit of this thing called justice, then it means that we are always thinking about what we have as all of ours.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no need to hoard. There's no need to be like, you have your own budget, right? Instead, you would be like, yo, listen, I see y'all having like soul food night. You know what? Let us take care of the music for that. Right? Instead, each group would be keeping itself aware of what the other groups are doing for support, right? To be able to show up and say, let me show you solidarity by participating, right? So the Mexican American group is going to have a movie night. Great. Let me be an usher for the night. Let me be an usher. Let me greet people at the door. Let me pass out, the flyers for whatever their next event is going to be. Like, let me help out. Let me go set up the chairs. I'm going to go set up the chairs so y'all can have a successful night and not have to think about the setup. I got you. Right? But first, you got to ask yourself the question, are we pursuing justice for everybody? Or are we just pursuing justice for ourselves?
And I think that challenge comes too when, even if it's sort of not about resources, it's like, this is the issue that I care about, right? And we need to address things. And if we're focusing on this, then this is the thing to focus on, right? So
yes, and we get that a lot in just racial justice circles, right? So a few months ago, I posted on my own Instagram, what is the top racial justice like concern or passion that you have? What do you care about most? And the vast majority of people who answered were like, well, obviously education and healthcare. Like everything depends on education and healthcare. If we could just fix those two things, everything else would fall. And I was like, we feeling real good about our passion area, aren't we? That's interesting. Your passion area ain't more important than nobody else's. What are you talking about? Criminal justice still matters. Homelessness still matters. Environmental justice still matters. Like, what do you mean? You can't be taking over all of racial justice. That ain't how this works, right? We have to begin to see how all of the things we care about are interconnected, right? So the people who are most passionate about the criminal justice system need to also be talking to the people who are most passionate about education. Why? Because we want those who are in the system to still be educated.
Right.
But the people who care about education got to go talk to the people about housing, because those who care about housing know that will dictate how well you getting educated.
No doubt.
Right? And the people who care about housing got to go over there and talk to the people about environmental justice, because we got a lead situation in our homes. Yeah. And Flint ain't got clean water. Right? So we have to be able, I want people to have an area that they're passionate about. I want that, because I need you to be a geek about it. I need you to be a nerd about the thing that you are passionate about. But I also need you to see how they're interconnected. And the same thing when it comes to race. Immigration matters to me, not because I'm afraid that I will be tossed out of the country, but because I am afraid that my friends will.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So these issues of justice aren't just about the issues that I face. They're about the issues that we all face. And I should be able to find a connection to every single one of those things.
Yes. Yes. Appreciate that. I'm going to take one more question from the chat before we go to our brilliant scholar. This is the 30th anniversary of the ADA Act. What advice would you give for a person of color who also has disabilities,
Yes.
therefore double the cognitive and emotional load, to effectively bring about change in higher education without becoming drained? I ask because there are so many institutional barriers for people of color and people with disabilities, and advocacy for both takes a lot of work.
A ton of work. So first I don't know how to say this well, friends, but, and I'm so sorry if I sound like a broken record, but I desperately need all students who are a part of one or more marginalized communities to practice joy. I need you to have spaces where you feel free. I need you to have spaces where you feel seen. I need you to have spaces where you feel a sense of complete belonging. I need you to have spaces where you rest. That's what I'm trying to say. Where do you rest? How do you rest? Who supports you in your rest? Because if all you ever do is fight, at some point you are absolutely going to burn out. And you will be bitter, and you will be cynical, and you will be angry, and you will be mad, and it will eat you up from the inside out.
Right.
It is so important that we do a better job of what we were just talking about, creating these partnerships, because it's important that you know that all the work doesn't rest on you. You get to take a break. At some point today, I'm probably going to take a nap. Okay? I'm not kidding. At some point today, I take a nap almost every day, friends. And the reason I can take a nap almost every day is because the world of racial justice is not revolving around me. If the work of creating access, if the work of creating justice revolves only around you, then what I need you to do is not keep pushing. What I need you is to build a coalition.
Yeah.
That's what I need you to do. Mm-hmm. I need you to work on building community, on building a coalition, on building people to stand in solidarity with you so that you are not fighting alone. Yeah. And hopefully, therefore, not burning out.
That's solid. That's solid. All right, let's go to our next brilliant scholar, last but not least for this session at least. Tamia Folks is a junior at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, majoring in journalism and political science. On campus, she serves as the Big Ten Voting Challenge intern for the Mortgage Center of Public Service, as an Andrew Goodman ambassador for the Andrew Goodman Foundation, and as a student council representative for the Associated Students of Madison. In addition to her on-campus positions, Tamia serves as a Google News Initiative Fellow for the Isthmus. Is there anything you don't do, Tamia? All of her positions have heightened her passions for politics, education, writing, and activism, and she hopes to use her positions as an avenue to inform and educate her peers and community. The floor is yours, Tamia.
Hi, Austin. Thank you so much for being here today. It's such an honor to be speaking with you. I'm so excited to be a part of this conversation, and I'm so grateful that you took some time to be with us today.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. And so I was so interested by your book. I'm so appreciative of all the work that you did and put into that. I resonated with it so much.
I'm so
and
glad.
one of the things that I took away from it was you talked about a mask. You had a poem in there, or just a short, brief statement in which you talk about people, wearing a mask and not showing the vulnerabilities that we experience on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's certainly something that Black students right now are dealing with. It's like you walk into a classroom, but outside there's not only this pandemic, but all of these racial issues and the burdens of your academics and, just so much to deal with. Yes. So I'm curious that, do you have any advice for students who are fighting for, their rights and for making change, but don't take time for themselves? I think, I so greatly appreciated you saying that we don't take time to enjoy our Blackness. We spend so much time fighting for it. And so how do you recommend that students take this trauma and, find space for themselves and also stay hopeful in the process of pursuing this change.
Yeah, it's so hard. And I don't want to give like a false sense of ease, right? It is really difficult, especially when you're so passionate about it, because you care, because it impacts you every single day. But this may sound really silly, but what I try to convince students of color to do and other marginalized students is to kind of check in with yourself every single morning. That every morning you wake up and you ask yourself, do I have time for the foolishness today? Like, do I have time for the foolishness today? Because there might be some days when you're like, you know what? If my professor says something out of pocket, I'm going to have to take over the class. Like, I'm going to just have to do it. I'm going to just have to take over the class. But there might be other days when you're like, you know what? I don't have time today. I don't have time for the foolishness. I got like 2 papers to write. I got 3 meetings to go to. They all on Zoom, which means I got to figure out how to change my shirt every like 3 hours. You know what I mean? You might just be like, I don't have time today. In which case you decide to just let it go. To just let it go. I think that there is a myth that if you don't fight every second of every day, that you're doing it wrong. I think there's a myth that if you don't challenge and correct everything you hear, everything you see, then you have somehow failed that day. But you're more than your work. You are not just a mule for racial justice. You are a whole person. And sometimes what you have to do is wear a mask, not because you're trying to deceive anyone, but because you need to protect yourself. Because sometimes you have to reprioritize. You are a student who wants to graduate. And sometimes that will mean you can't spend 2 hours talking to your professor about why what they said in class is wrong. Sometimes you got to leave and go work on that next paper, right? It's okay to check in with yourself and to say, today I've got time or today I don't.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I guess a follow-up to that question then would be, how can you continue to occupy space when a lot of the times it seems like, and you mentioned in your book as well, that Black people are expected to be kind of malleable in this system and always kind of be, adapting and fluctuating to fit the moment. And so how can you still occupy space and still, get those benefits of working hard and, competing and doing these things that are keeping you successful, but also not overexerting out of energy and fear that you might not be able to participate?
Yeah. It took me until adulthood to realize, I want to say this well. It took me until adulthood to realize that I don't like deeply, like really don't want to occupy spaces where I'm not wanted. So I'm gonna skip ahead past college for a second, though I hope it has applicability while you're in college. When my parents talked to me about job interviews and how to be successful post-college, right? They always told me that when I go in for the interview, that I am not just being interviewed, that I am also doing the interviewing, right? And that sounded real good. But that ain't how it feels when you actually in the interview, okay? When you are actually in the interview, it don't feel like I can ask anything I want to ask too, right? It feels very one-sided, very one-sided. All the power is over here, and it is my job to dance as quickly as I can, right? But what I have learned is that if I show up as my whole self in the interview, that I can watch the people on the other side of the table and determine whether or not they actually want all of me or if they just want someone who looks like me, right? And let me give you a real specific example. When I interviewed to be a resident director, I was sitting around a table. It was probably 6 people at the table and me being interviewed. And they were asking a series of questions based on circumstance, right? So if students started a food fight in the cafeteria, what would you do, right? Those kinds of questions. One of the questions they asked was, if it was 3 a.m. and you got a phone call that there were football players outside the dorm at 3 a.m. Who were not sober, making all kinds of noise, what would you go do? Now the answer is supposed to be that I will get up out of my bed and put on my bandana to cover my headscarf and go and give these guys the what for, okay? That's supposed to be my answer. My answer is supposed to be, I ain't scared. Of course, I'm gonna go tell those students what they need to go do and where they need to be and how they need to stop making so much noise, right? That's the right answer. But I know that I am a Black woman who is all of 5'6", and me and my little self is finna go out at 3 a.m. to football players who are not sober, and I'm gonna tell them what to do in my bandana and sweats. That don't sound like a good idea, right? So instead of giving the answer I'm supposed to give, I instead say exactly that. I am a Black woman, and I would be putting my own safety at risk by doing that. So what I would do in that scenario is call campus security, and I would have them meet me as backup to reinforce my authority as I talk to this group of football players. In that moment, everyone at the table has to decide now whether or not they will make an allowance for my answer being different because of who I am. And if they say that's a bad answer, then I know this is a place I don't want to work, because you don't actually care about the ways I would have to navigate this compared to the rest of my white colleagues, right? So that was a very long way of saying that I need you to show up, right? I need you to have expectations of the groups that you're a part of the places that you belong, and eventually of the jobs that you will have or are starting, hello, right? To create space for what it means for you to move through these worlds that are very different from the ways your white colleagues will move through the world.
For sure. And I mean, that's such a good point. I think we talk so much about self-care, but recognizing that you have to demand care from the people who employ and work with you is so, so important, especially in this age of being digital and online and just, dealing with all of this trauma. And so my last question for you is just, how do we focus on self-care specifically then when we're seeking community and we're not, for students especially, we're not on campus really, we're not having events. Right. How can we still, reach out and make these connections to make us feel supported?
I have no idea. I'm so sorry. I wish I knew, but the truth is we've never done this before, right? So I have no idea. But here's what I know and believe with my whole heart. I believe y'all know. I believe you all know. You all are, so I'm going to date myself a little bit here. So Facebook came out when I was in college, okay? When I had a Facebook account, you still had to have a college email address to join, okay? Facebook was a baby, all right, when I was in college. I didn't even have a Facebook account, despite it coming out when I was in college, until I had already graduated, okay? So while I am very good at the social medias. I did not grow up with it, right? You all have learned a way to connect with one another over technology. And even though that connection has been derided over and over and over again, you all have been shamed for it. You all have, right? Like you all have taken the brunt of your reliance on technology, on social media. But now is the time to use it. Now is the time to put together all those connections that you have figured out and use it to make sure that everyone is okay, right? So I put my full faith in your generation in figuring out how to make it through this pandemic using the tools that you have been shamed for using.
Well, thank you again so much for your time. I'm so grateful to have gotten the opportunity to speak with you today once again. And like Nala, I'll probably be in your email and
do it.
But once again, thank you for talking to us today. So appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Tamia. We have a ton of great, I'm parched and you keep drinking out that cup. I'm like,
I know, it's almost gone.
My mouth is dry. Anyway, so I'm going to take a few questions from the audience. So we got some really good stuff. This one comes from one of our professors in the vet school. She says, I struggle with white saviorism and needing validation by people of color. Any advice on how to address these emotions?
Ah, that's so good. Okay. Well, the first step is admitting that there's a problem, right? Like, so it is, I am far more, I don't know if afraid is the word, but I am far more, I'm just going to use afraid. I don't mean like, but I'm far more concerned about the white people who don't admit where they're struggling. Okay. The white people who pretend like they've got it all figured out. That makes me nervous. Okay. Give me the white person who's like, here's what I'm struggling with today, because that's the person I trust. All right. So first of all, I need to say that it is so important that you be able to say, here's the thing that I'm struggling with. Here's the thing that I'm trying to work through. Specifically with white saviorism, here, I hope that this framework is helpful. When we talk about white supremacy in its most simple terms, right? White supremacy is built on two lies. The first lie is that white people are inherently better, right? That they're inherently superior, they're inherently smarter, they're just better. But the second lie is that people of color are inherently worse, right? So it isn't that white people are better, but everybody else is neutral. Right? It's that white people are better and there is something inferior about Black people and people of color. White saviorism, and quite frankly, the whole of anti-racism right now focuses on whiteness, right? It focuses on this lie. Am I actually better than all people of color? Because probably not, right? Like probably not, right? But it doesn't, so far, it doesn't do a whole lot of work around acknowledging the ways that Black folks and other people of color are amazing, right? And white saviorism suggests that Black folks still need to be saved. It suggests that there is something wrong with Black people as opposed to something being wrong with the system itself. Okay? White saviorism implies that Black folks need to be saved as opposed to the system needs to be fixed in order to acknowledge the inherent dignity of Black people, right? So white saviorism is still a position of white superiority and the assumption of inferiority of Black people. How do you combat that? Is to realize, okay, I'm just gonna say this the way it came to my head. I hope you all will maybe have me back one day. But the way to fight white saviorism is to realize that you ain't shit. Like, it's to realize that you just like everybody else, that you ain't smarter than nobody else. You ain't more qualified than anybody else. You don't have any like special, just like I don't have a pamphlet to hand all of you to get free. You ain't got no pamphlet to hand to me to get free. We are all figuring this out together. We are all trying to find language. We are all thinking this through. We are all trying to find a strategy and a campaign. Like, we're all trying to figure this out. There is nothing special about you. And if you really believe that, you would realize that you are nobody's savior. You just an ally, you just in solidarity along with the rest of us trying to make the world better.
Thank you. I have, I love when these comments come in because there's always a ton of question and things get really heavy. And for folks who do the work like you do consistently, it's always good, I think, and refreshing to hear these sorts of comments. The writer says this: thank you, Austin, for your honesty, courage, and superpowers. I read chapters of your book every morning after my meditation. I watched all your episodes of The Next Question. I'm a 37-year-old white cis hetero woman, but I tell my Black friends that I'm probably 3 months old in terms of dissecting and removing poison of white supremacy. I also found myself in your book with quote unquote nice white people, and that I've been taught or learned how not to see shades of skin tones, shapes of faces, bodies, unless they look like mine. My friends are gracious enough with their love for me that they've pointed it out, and I thank them. You deserve all the flowers, Austin. Thank you.
That was very, very sweet. And if I can, I know that wasn't a question, but I just want to underline something there. One of the questions I get a lot from white folks is essentially, but what if I make a mistake, right? I want to be an ally, but what if I make a mistake? And I love what this woman wrote because that question kind of turns Black folks into monsters, right? Like, if you make a mistake, Black folks gonna be like, "Ooh, you made a mistake. That's what we gonna do." Right? We ain't gonna eat you alive. We ain't gonna rip you apart. We ain't gonna, like, what do you think we're gonna do? Like, we're gonna tell you made a mistake. And so I would just like to thank that person for trusting also the Black people in her life and saying, that if I make a mistake, it's okay to call me out because I know that you all aren't monsters. You all are people. And I want to be the best ally I can be. So correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure. Thank you for that. This question reminds me of, I can't remember, I might get this wrong, your transition from Toledo to Cleveland or
Yes.
Cleveland to Toledo, or okay. And some of, you talked in your book around sort of the Black friend who's like taught you, like, who, I forget how you put it. And I don't want to miss. Let me just read the question. This person says, as a Black man from Madison who grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood and schools, I hate when both Black and white people expect me to act or think a certain way because I'm Black. I'm a firm believer that Black is simply what I am, not who I am. Yep. That's not to say I'm not affected by my race, but I don't allow it in any way to define me. What's your response to that, Austin?
Yeah. So let me go back to like when I was 10, right? When I was making that transition. So when I was in predominantly white spaces, I felt like I was super, super blackity, blackity, black with some more black on top, right? That's how I felt. Because I knew that my hair was different, and I knew that the artwork in my house was different. And I knew that the music I was listening to was different. Like, I just felt different all the time, right? And then I went into an actual blackity, blackity, black space. And I was like, oh, I don't do none of that, right? I was like, oh.
Spades? What's spades?
You know what I'm saying? I was like, huh. So you all like know these things, huh? Like, and I had never felt that before, right? Because in the space I was in, that was the blackest thing around, right? And now I feel like the whitest thing around, and I don't know what to do with that, right? And I think that had it not been for my girlfriend, Tiffany, I could have become one of those Black people who is ashamed of other Black people.
Mm.
Not because I actually dislike other Black people, but because I wouldn't have known what to do with the fact that I was finally around Black people and didn't feel a sense of belonging like I thought I would, or like I thought I should, right? And that would have created so much hurt and so much disappointment that I would have been like, well, fine, I don't need y'all. I'm gonna stay over here where I feel blackety, blackety, black, and y'all go do whatever it is y'all doing over there. Go play spades, I guess, right? And I'm so grateful that there was a girl my age who lived 4 houses down from my mom, who also ended up going to the same summer day camp that I went to. And she was the one who taught me that, first of all, there are things about Blackness that I can learn if I wanna, right? I can learn how to do the butterfly and the Tootsie Roll if I wanna, right? The Cabbage Patch is not a step too far for me, right? I can learn these things. I can learn about pop culture. I can open Ebony magazine and figure out what is happening in contemporary culture, right? That there are things that are accessible to me, even if my parents hadn't made them accessible to me, right? But also that there were ways that I could decide that's for me, that's not for me, right? So I will probably never, ever be good at playing the dozens, right? I'm just not built that way, right?
You might need to explain what playing the dozens is to these young folk, Austin. You telling your age a little bit. They don't.
I need you to Google it if you don't know what it is. Google it, okay? Right?
Joshing or whatever. It change every decade. I don't know.
I'm sure it does. Ugh, getting older, right? But put me in some like oratory contest and I'll blow your socks off.
Right.
Right? So being Black didn't require that I be like everybody else, right? It just allowed me to explore beyond what I already knew. But I was still bookish. I would still rather read a book than go play kickball in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? And so I'm really grateful that I had that, really my first like blackety, blackety, black friend, right, made space for me. And that's what I want to say to all the Black students out there who have been living in these predominantly white spaces and sometimes feel like your Blackness isn't good enough or feels like it's supposed to define you in a certain way, that your Blackness is. It just is. And you absolutely get to decide for yourself whether or not you love soul food or not, whether or not you love rock and roll and R&B, whether or not you, right? Is gospel music your thing, or do you like to mix it up? Like, I don't know. But these are decisions that you get to make as long as you are not ashamed of your Blackness, right? Being ashamed of your Blackness is not the same thing as saying, I don't like that personally, right? But just because you don't like fried chicken don't mean we got to despise people who do like fried chicken. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Okay. Yes. I want to bring this up to follow up on the ADA question. We have,
yes.
They said, speaking from the disabled perspective, and we talked about rest, right? You talked about rest. We've been talking about a lot about self-care and wellness. And they say, speaking from the disabled perspective, rest doesn't feel like an option. If we rest, we are forgotten. How can we ensure that we don't compromise our rest for fear of being forgotten? What do you say to that, Austin?
Yeah, again, this goes back to coalition building, right? That there should always be other people who are fighting for the same things, right? So maybe what we need to do is take a break from the fight and practice telling other people, inviting people into the fight, right? So what might it look like to split your community in half, and part of the community just does information sessions, right? Inviting the rest of the campus to learn about accessibility right? And then what does it look like for the other half of the community to be pushing, right? But it is so important for us to think strategically about our work. We got to think strategically about our work. Because those who do nothing but fight are going to wind up overwhelmed and sick and cynical.
Yes.
Okay? I want to be sensitive here because I understand. I understand that if the classroom isn't accessible, that compromises your education, right? And so it feels like you must constantly be pushing to make the classroom accessible. I get it. I also worry that if all you do is push and all you do is fight, that it won't matter whether or not the classroom is accessible because you will be at home sick.
Right.
Does that make sense? That you won't be able to enjoy the fruit of what it is you're pushing for because you now physically cannot get up to go to the classroom because you have the flu or because you have pneumonia. And now you got to take a whole semester off because you opted out of rest. I want you all to think of rest as your birthright. And the way that you protect your rest is by making sure that there is a community of people who are fighting so that when you take your rest, there is still someone else out there shouting from the rooftops, more accessible, more accessible, more accessible.
Thank you so much for that. We're winding down on time. We'll see how many more questions we can get. I'm going to combine this. There were several questions that really got at the heart of this question, and that is, how do you get folks interested when they are not interested and do not see the reason or impact? And thinking of our space in Wisconsin, just like Michigan and just like Ohio, the rural communities that are not diverse at all. I think there was someone on NPR today that was someone asked the question, and just the statement that made it very, very clear that they didn't even understand the value of this or the import of this. So how do you get folks interested when they're not interested and do not see the reason or impact of becoming of racial justice?
Yeah. I don't, not anymore. When I was a college student, I did this all the time. I would challenge professors. I would, write op-eds in the newspaper. I would, at the end of like the movie night when we watched whatever what was the name of that movie? Crash. After we watched Crash, then I would be like ranting for, for all my classmates to hear. But I have come to an important realization. And that realization is that I don't actually need all white people to get on board in order to make change. I don't need everybody.
Sometimes it's I liken it to whatever folks' spiritual background or religious background, and you can't save everybody. Sometimes it's about planting seeds and keeping it moving. It's not your job necessarily to change everyone's mind.
That's right. I need a real good reason, right? So am I trying to change the mind of the president of the university in order to like have some systemic change? That might be worth my time, right? But someone that I only see on Wednesday afternoons at 6 p.m., I don't think so. Like in my classroom, like someone who sits 3 rows behind me at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday, I don't know that I'm going to give them a whole lot of my time.
Right. I think this question here is a follow-up. I think is a decent one. In sort of the resources piece, or the interracial conflict is what I like to call it sometimes. This person says, I'm so appreciative of the analogy to pieces of the pie versus whole pie, or a whole table full of pies. I wonder how we help people understand that bringing others up does not mean they threaten their slice of pie. Rather, it allows others to claim their own slice of pie. How do we get people over the fear of scarcity and threat of others? I think this is so key to both racial justice and immigration policies.
Yeah. We have to keep nerding out on racial justice, right? It's not enough to just, it's not enough to just have like my one little passion area of racial justice and just stay right there. Right. It's important that I do the work of thinking about what a just world looks like, and how can I participate in that world even now, right? How can I push that like alternate universe into this one, right? How can I practice what I preach? Because the way we think about justice becomes the way that we practice justice. Right? So if what we think is that there are multiple pies on the table and we have only been given access to a piece of a pie, then our strategy will not be to fight over a piece of a pie. Our strategy will be, how many pies is we going to go get together? Mm-hmm. What is the goal for the amount of pies we all believe we deserve as people who pay tuition at this here university, right? But we got to spend time not just thinking about our own justice issue, but also thinking about what is justice in the world and how do we practice that? Because if we actually believe with our whole hearts that our futures are tied together, then the way we think about the pie will absolutely change.
Awesome. Before I close up real quick, some folks want to know what are some of those books behind you? What are some of those books on your bookshelf, or some that you might recommend, or that you're reading, or that has been inspirational to you in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah. These are all the books that I need to like have in grabbing distance. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, oh, let me reference James Baldwin real fast. You know what I mean? This is the easy, accessible pile.
Yes.
So let me give you a couple. So this is all novels up here. And then this is Black women writers. This is Black women in history. And so on and so forth. Okay. So there is a categorization that is happening here. If you are ready, and Wisconsin, I just believe you might be, if you are ready, like ready, okay, like radical ready, okay, radical with a capital R ready, then I need you to pick up this book called In the Defense of Looting.
Wow.
Do you hear me?
Wow.
In Defense of Looting. Y'all, I need you to know, I opened up the introduction and started taking photos of paragraphs. I was like, this is what I need in my life. But you got to be radical with a capital R for this one, homies.
I was going to ask you who the author is, but I don't know that there's another book with that name.
So I don't think there's going to be another one, friends. I don't think you'll find another one. But her name is Vicky Osterwale. In Defense of Looting. Oh, it's so good.
Awesome. Well, I truly appreciate the time that you have shared with us today, Austin. I feel a kinship with you, and even with my Detroit. And I believe you were on here with, I think to me is your soror. I don the red and white, so I understand a little bit about what you do. I appreciate the time you shared with us today, and I'm grateful for the work that you've done and that you continue to do. Thank you to Nala, Jared, and Tamia for the important work that you do on this campus. does not go unnoticed, and you are all indeed truly making a difference. This conversation has reminded us that no matter what our background is, no matter what where we come from, there's yet work to do. Black, red, yellow, purple. Our attempts to combat systemic racism rest solely within our actions or our inactions. To be sure, another great author, Ibram X. Kendi, says the only way to undo racism is to consistently identify and describe it, then dismantle it. And that is the essence of anti-racism, right? The action that must follow both emotional and intellectual awareness of racism. And we all need work. It is a constant process of growth and development. We simply must get past our discomfort in discussing race and racism. And that's what this is all about. And the thousands of people who've shown up to this forum indicate that you all are at least ready to start doing this work. When the diversity forum ends, how will we stay engaged in this work? If we feel ill-prepared to talk about race and racism, how can we commit to learning more about the issues by studying history, by following current events, becoming more intimately familiar with anti-racism work, by coming to places like these and reading books that enlighten us, right? If we tend to avoid or reroute certain discussions when we sense discomfort in the room, discomfort in ourselves, if you're like me, I get this little internal ugh on the inside, right? But how can we commit to writing out the discussion the next time? What tools do we yet need to do to enable us to do that? If we feel isolated in terms of teaching or talking about race and racism, how can we commit to identifying the colleagues, partners, even loved ones with whom we can co-teach, co-plan, debrief, or lead in spaces where this work is indeed necessary? Right? If we feel unqualified or unprepared to answer colleagues, students, friends, others' questions or concerns about race and racism, how can we commit to accepting that, just as Austin said a little bit earlier, we don't have all the answers, right? We simply must embrace every opportunity to live, to learn, to grow concerning these issues, even with our colleagues and our loved ones. We've heard a lot about self-care today, right? And I have this simple motto that I try to impress upon folks, particularly our students who are activists. And we have a particularly active bunch, pun intended, of activists on campus. And it's simply this: educate to activate, re-energize, and utilize allies. Rome wasn't built in a day, and it definitely was not built by one person, right? Sometimes planting the seed is your job. You don't know it, but that might just be your job, planting that seed. So ultimately, action is the difference between being not racist and being anti-racist. While many these days might interpret action as just protesting, right? Or something like that. There are many other actions, as we've heard today, some small, some large, but all necessary actions that people can take in their own lives, their own practice, their own teaching, their own pedagogy, their own learning that promote equity over time. Challenging our assumptions, diversifying your curriculum, what's on your bookshelf, as we just asked Mrs. Channing Brown, right? Collaborating with more people of color, working in community with people of color, asking questions when confronted with and challenging racist ideas, actions, or ideology. Sometimes that question can be the main thing that disrupts that racism in that space. As a community, we can all utilize each other to hold ourselves accountable and ultimately become closer to eliminating our blind spots as it relates to race and racism. Again, thank you, Austin Channing Brown, Nala McWhorter, Jared Biddle, Tamia Folks, everyone who asked questions. I'm sorry I couldn't get to them all, but hopefully we were able to address your concerns. Thank you. The annual UW Diversity Forum has grown tremendously in the past 20 years. And in this year, we've issued a call for proposals for day 2 breakout sessions. DDEA invited faculty, staff, and colleagues from throughout the region to share their expertise, their research, and best practices. Join us for today's breakouts with the goals of updating the latest knowledge in diversity and inclusion fields, educating best practices for equity and social justice, and activating our attendees to go on to make positive change in the world. Here's to an informative, meaningful, and powerful day 2 of Diversity Forum. We'll take a 15-minute break or 10-minute break, come back at 10:45 for our breakout sessions on block 1. Thank you, everyone.